On today's show, I welcome three guests. The first is Sharon Northrup. She and her late husband, Allan, founded Pushing Boundaries, the first nonprofit exercise-based therapy center in the Pacific Northwest. The two were inspired to open the center after Allan suffered a spinal cord injury that left him paralyzed. They had relocated to California to seek therapy and treatment for his injury. More than 20 years ago, they returned to Washington, opened their own center, offering these therapies and more to local residents and people of surrounding areas. We also talk with Danielle and Seb, who are both patients who've utilized Pushing Boundaries, and talk about the incredible impact it's had on their own outcomes. Sharon, thank you for joining the show today. I'm really honored to be able to share your story and honor your late husband, Allan, and just talk about the journey you faced together to bring the need you had back home. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I greatly appreciate it. So it's a pleasure to be here with you.
Well, let's talk about Allan and the accident that you had. The two of you had a car accident that immediately changed your lives.
Absolutely. It was just after Thanksgiving, and we were headed over I-90 over Snoqualmie Pass and that. And unfortunately, the weather was not nice and many spin outs and things. And we happened to hit a patch of black ice and spun and ended up rolling the car down and ending up on the other side of the freeway facing the other direction. Thanks to some amazing people and the weather conditions, we made it into Cleellum or into Ellensburg and caught a jet and was airlifted out to Harborview, and the journey began.
The injury he sustained left Allan paralyzed.
Yes, left him a paraplegic. He had a C7T1, so he was paralyzed from the chest on down. And so, a nightmare journey, just what happens, where do you go from here and that? And slowly things progressed, went into surgery, and then it was a matter of how to heal and how to go home. One day I go in and it's, we need to teach you how to transfer so you guys can go home. And you go, you want me to do what?
And yeah, because you spent about 8 weeks in the hospital, right? Getting to that point.
And just getting to that point, and the things that you learn along the way that you don't realize that are there. And all of a sudden one day it's 8 weeks later and they say, now we're going to teach you how to do it. And so you can go home. And 8 weeks isn't a very long time. You have to go out and readjust your living facility. Our bedroom was upstairs. Our family room became our bedroom. We had to modify a bathroom in order to, utilize that facility. And it's like, now what do we do? Your life totally changes. You aren't working anymore. Neither one of you work. It just changes, and it changes for everyone, not just the person, but for the whole family. It's a major lifestyle change. So we slowly started working at that, and friends rallied, and, we were very fortunate to have a family and a lot of good friends. But, Allan, where do we go? The hospitals are good. They offer, physical therapy, but unfortunately, a lot of times your policy only says outpatient and there's 12 visits a year. You need a little bit more than that, and to try and look to find, how do I recruit? How do I get back? So luckily our daughter got online and she found a facility down in the San Diego area that was offering something new, an exercise type therapy facility. We flew down there. A year later, we'd sold our business, sold our home, and moved down there. And it was so different for the fact that it allowed you a different type of exercise. It focused on what's offered. It just gave you what you were looking for.
Gave you open opportunity.
It did.
Opportunity. One of the things about your story that's so compelling is And I relate to it. We had to relocate 10 hours from home for my late husband's double lung transplant. Just my son and he and I living in a hotel, then an apartment. He was 4 years old at the time. My son was just 4. And leaving your family, your support system,
Yes.
while going through a health crisis is one of the hardest things people will ever do. So when you made this relocation and you spent the time there, you were still having to drive around to all these different facilities to get the help you needed. There wasn't just one place that you were getting everything you needed. And so part way into your journey, you and your husband decided to come back home and invest in some of that equipment you needed, and realizing in your community now, your new community, that other people needed that same support and that same opportunity toward healing and toward making the very best of that situation. And so in your experience of being in San Diego and all over Southern California, and then bringing it back home to the Pacific Northwest, what kind of a reward has that brought to you and to the people you see around you? Because it was such a big move and you didn't plan, we're going to go home and start this on our own. It just happened along the way.
It did. We came home and we, brought equipment with us. Actually, there was a facility, PT department that went out of business, and we brought back parallel bars. We brought home a workout table. We brought home equipment with us and set it up in our own home like a little mini gym. And, it really brought to mind to us that, we were using things and it still wasn't available in the Pacific Northwest, that other people, and it just, it just seemed right to share and to be able to offer to people what we were experiencing. And it's beyond just offering the physical part. What we also acquired was the camaraderie and the understanding that this particular type of exercise therapy gives to people, because it's just different and it's an understanding. So that was a good main reason of starting Pushing Boundaries. It's just something you share with others. You receive and then you give. And I think my reward that I receive to this day, and that is just watching someone who comes through the door of Pushing Boundaries for the first time, and it's just the feeling I had, that you just know that it's like they understand what I need, and I have found a place that knows how to work with me and understand what I really need in order for me to go on and continue with my life and progress. And so that's really the reward that you just see in the staff that we have, the understanding that they have, and being able to listen and be able to be creative and to do things for people. Not everybody does walk, but there's also, just learning how to drive, being able to find someone and you get married, being able to hold your grandchild, being able to itch your nose, just the rewards. These things may seem small, but they're huge to other people. And not only is it spinal cord injuries, but it's anyone with paralysis, MS, stroke. It's all sorts of rewards that people have. And it extends into the family, that just being able to sit there with another caregiver and being able to talk to someone and they understand and share things that you've had happen for you. So it's an all-encompassing, and it brings the family together. It's a bonding place, and it's an overall healing place.
Well, I'm really looking forward. We get to share the stories of two of the clients that you have that participate in Pushing Boundaries. So we'll be talking with Danielle and Seb in just a moment. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. And I just wish you continued fulfillment and rewards and happiness in your journey. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Danielle, thank you for being here with us today. I know you're trying to get your screen situated based on where you're sitting. So for showing us your beautiful face, and thanks for being here.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
So you suffered a massive stroke at 28 years old, almost 13 years ago, you said, and it left you in the hospital for a year, facing many deficits. And you've been working with pushing boundaries for about 8 years, you said.
Maybe longer.
Maybe longer.
Not sure.
So let's talk about then the things you had to overcome, because you said that when we were talking off air that you were what they call locked in, where you couldn't respond, you couldn't talk, but you could hear everything that was happening. And you had a long journey to go from waking up from brain surgery to where you could even leave the hospital a year later.
And when I left the hospital, I still had a trach tube in my neck. And because of that, I had to go to a nursing home for a few months. And then I was finally transferred to, University of Washington rehab. But when I left rehab, I remember I had to move in with my mom and dad. And she was scared to get me out of bed on her own because I was so weak at that point that she needed two people to help get me in my wheelchair.
And you're wheelchair bound now, and you have use of, you said pretty good dexterity in your left arm. You had to regain your speech. And you and I have been visiting for probably 30 minutes before we hit record today. And I know you have all of your mental faculties and awareness, just as you described after the surgery. What has pushing boundaries meant to you? I know it's an hour and a half away for you, so you only get to go once a week. And obviously, the more you could attend, the even better it would be. So part of what you're trying to advocate for is the understanding that we need more facilities like it throughout the state, throughout the country, to give people like yourself options.
Well, and when you rely on insurance, you only get, 8 to 10 therapy sessions a year. And then you have to start paying out of pocket. And going to physical therapy is like, I think, $500 an hour out of pocket. And so facilities like pushing boundaries help. I mean, at this point, we just want to maintain what we have, and gain a little if we can. And we're not trying to become bodybuilders. So facilities like pushing boundaries really help keep your quality of life, and maintainable future.
One of the things that I'll add, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, that Pushing Boundaries is the first nonprofit organization of its kind for this type of exercise therapy. And so when you say relying on insurance to be part of your rehabilitation, it's near an impossibility, but this organization has helped you get further and maintain what you've gained. And your progress is remarkable.
And whenever you have an injury of any sort, and progress is slow. And in my case, it's been almost 13 years, but I feel stronger today than I did after my stroke. So pushing boundaries has really helped me gain my strength. When I first started going, it helped me gain confidence, and it made me feel like I was doing something normal again.
Sometimes it's having that place to be that's just your own, that's just there for you, that you get to be around people who are going through what you're going through and understand the magnitude of what your life is like when you're not in the building and what you're going through, what you're fighting for when you are in the building. Well, I'm grateful for you sharing your story and getting to spend this time with you. And I just wish you continued results from your hard work. And I admire your strength and resilience. Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you for having me on. And I would absolutely love to sit down and chat with you some more.
I'd love that too. I would love that too. Take good care of yourself.
You too. Have a good day.
Thank you, Seb, for being here and sharing your story with us. You're coming to us from Arizona right now, but you lived in Washington for several years. Tell us about the accident that happened and the result of that accident.
Yeah, I was at a snowboard academy in Sun Valley, Idaho, for school and snowboard, or to compete in snowboarding. And last run of the day, at bottom of the hill, was slowing down to stop and get off the slopes, and caught my front edge going pretty quickly, face planted and flipped over, and broke my neck. I was paralyzed immediately, and so they took me to a small hospital there, and then flew me in a helicopter to the big hospital in Boise, which I did all my surgeries and some ICU there before going back to Seattle so I could be at home with my parents and all that, which was very beneficial for me. But inpatient rehab was pretty hard, and I hated it and didn't feel like I was accomplishing anything, even if I was. So once I left the hospital, I was looking for something a little more intense and faster progress. And I tried a thing called Rehab Without Walls, where they came to my house and helped me exercise, and it worked and it was great. But again, it was more physical therapy, and I wanted kind of personal trainers and higher intensity workouts. And my parents found Pushing Boundaries. And yeah, once I went there, it was basically what I'd been looking for.
So comparing what you had been getting, because you were seeing some progress, but you, a young man capable of many things, you probably wanted to push yourself in a direction that maybe seemed too much to some or not. Maybe you'd said that you wanted to just push yourself and work harder. So what about the workouts that you were doing compared to the support you received at Pushing Boundaries was really the difference for you?
Yeah, I think that the way Pushing Boundaries for me structured the workouts was a lot more, because they kind of tailor it to each patient. And for me, it was a lot more kind of, personal training, trying to get stronger. I was starting to play rugby at the similar time that I went to Pushing Boundaries. So I was focusing on, stamina, strength, endurance, and all this kind of stuff that maybe physical therapy wouldn't really help with, where physical therapy helps with like learning to get dressed or transferring in and out of your chair. That Pushing Boundaries was more focusing on, how can I get faster in my chair? How can I do better transfers and get strong enough to do this or that? So it was really like a focus on applicable stuff at first, where in physical therapy, it didn't feel necessarily applicable because it wasn't working on what I wanted to get better at, if that makes sense. It was kind of reinforcing stuff I had already developed or
Right.
worked on.
Well, I guess just like anything, just like in snowboarding, the more you did it, the better you got at it. So the
Absolutely.
more you get yourself in and out of your chair, the better you want to get at it, right?
Exactly.
Whether it's efficiency or just less energy that you're using, well, that would be more efficiency,
Yeah.
learning how to do that.
No, I think you're totally right. Like, that's where a lot of times, a lot of the workouts I did at Pushing Boundaries were similar to each other, and just practicing the same thing over and over. Like, I think it took me like 9 months to learn how to transfer in and out of my chair. And it was just trying it every day and failing, and so it was something Pushing Boundaries, like, try it this way, it doesn't work. There's someone there to help you. It's a safe environment if you cannot do it or you have risk of falling. So, they won't let you fall if you're trying to transfer or whatever. So it's a very safe environment to kind of experiment with your function and kind of learn what works and what doesn't.
One of the goals of this episode of the show and talking with everyone we've talked to, including yourself today, is just helping people understand the importance of pushing boundaries. And, we talked about how Allan and Sharon had to relocate to Southern California in order to get the care he needed. And then they ended up bringing Pushing Boundaries here. And it is the first nonprofit organization in Washington State that has this exercise therapy. You now live in a different state. You happen to live in Seattle, not far from the facility. So you were able to utilize that. And you understand more than just about anybody the importance of that. What did it mean to you to have something so close?
It was awesome. I think a big part of it too was it got me out of the house, which was hard to do at first.
Yeah.
And to have somewhere to go and work towards goals was just amazing. I was able to go twice a week, which for 2 hours each session. So it was pretty intense and a lot of work, but what it kind of gave me and helped me with made like just the fact that it was there. I don't know, like one of the best things I did since I broke my neck, therapy wise. But yeah, it was super convenient to have knowledgeable people who kind of are good at helping you reach your goals right there. You know what I mean? Like,
And understand what you've been through. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing your story. I know that you're going to do well. I believe you'll do well there in Phoenix. You've already found an organization to plug into and working with your rugby team to do the workouts that you want to do to achieve the things you want to achieve. So I hope that you just keep climbing that and keep succeeding and keep pushing yourself to do the very best you can with the circumstances that you're in.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being here.
Of course.